Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here with us in the room. Those of you that traveled from far, and good morning, afternoon for everyone on the webcast. Employees of NAV Canada, NATS, Aireon, got some airlines in the room. Welcome to this great day for Aireon and NATS. Today's a significant step for us, and it marks a significant step towards global air traffic surveillance. And it will benefit the entire aviation system. Before we get started, I'd like to just take a couple of minutes to run down the sequence of events for today. Like everyone in the room, to make sure the phones are off or on silent. Feel free to tweet or text, but let's keep the phones off. And like to make sure that we hold out questions until we're done with the announcement, and we'll have some sessions afterwards. Unfortunately, for those on the webcast, we won't be taking any questions through the webcast, but feel free to email them, and we'll get back within 24 hours on those. So very excited to be here. I'm excited to be here myself, and with all our great guests here in the room and here on the stage, joined by Mr. Don Thoma, the CEO of Aireon, Mr. Martin Rolfe, the CEO of NATS, and Mr. Marc Courtois, the chairman of the board of both Aireon and NAV Canada. Great distinguished guests. A little bit about Aireon. As you may know, we're going to be the first of its kind to be a global air traffic surveillance system. We'll be providing radar-like technology using ADS-B through satellite for about 70% of the world that currently has no surveillance in oceanic environments, terrestrial environments, such as in Africa, in parts of Latin America, while at the same time providing the data as a secondary layer or as an augmentation to existing radar, offering all kinds of unique capabilities. This global surveillance capability will introduce a significant safety enhancement. It will enable operational fuel efficiencies for the airlines, and it will improve the way we look at capacity and look at air traffic management around the world. For those of you unfamiliar with how it works, I'll spend just a few minutes on that, but I'm sure our guests will go into a little bit more detail later, and we can go into more detail even in the one-on-ones. The aircraft transmits an ADS-B message through its transponder once every half seconds. We have the Iridium NEXT satellites equipped with an Aireon payload that pick up that transmission from the airline and distributes it back through the ground to the ANSP, where the air traffic controller gets the data the same way they would get ground-based ADS-B or radar. This is done through a low Earth orbit constellation, the Iridium NEXT constellation, which is in the process of being replaced from the original constellation by Iridium. And this data will then be available to every ANSP in the world, but also to airlines, to airports, and to all kinds of future users of this data for other applications than for air traffic control. The Iridium NEXT satellite constellation is well on its way. 75% of the satellites are currently launched, 50 in space, 47 operational. The last 3 from the last launch are on its way to the final position in the orbit. And in fact, in a few days, next week, Tuesday on the 22nd, we will have another launch of 5 satellites from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. To date, 5 successful launches have been conducted, so 3 more to go. Next Tuesday is one of those. And when we're all done, 75 satellites in space, of which 9 will be in orbit spares for the system. System is designed to be a network-grade air traffic control system and deliver that data at a very high level of security reliability to air traffic controllers. With that, global air traffic control will become, or global air traffic surveillance will become available at the end of this year to every country in the world, and will be a major change. So a little bit of the background there, but I don't want to talk too much because we have the true experts here on the panel. So the full day planned, I just first want to hand it over to Don and say a few words on behalf of Aireon.
Yeah. Take a seat. Great. Well, thank you, Cyril, and good morning, everybody. As some of you know, we have some, or may have already guessed, we have some very exciting news regarding NATS and Aireon that we want to cover today. NATS and Aireon have been working together for a long time. This is why this is very exciting to announce that NATS is officially joining NAV Canada, ENAV, the Irish Aviation Authority, Naviair, and Iridium Communications as a member of the investor family of Aireon. As a leader in air navigation services, NATS was one of the first air navigation service providers that we explored this concept of space-based ADS-B back in 2011, before Aireon was even formed. In 2014, we entered into a long-term customer agreement to bring Aireon services to all the UK managed airspace. As many of you may recall, back in 2014, Aireon had not launched a single satellite, and it was at that time that NATS put its confidence in Aireon to build this service and deliver that capability. Since that time, we've been working closely with the NATS team on the implementation plans for this revolutionary capability. So it seems only fitting that NATS would also join us as a part owner of Aireon. Today, NATS has made an investment of $69 million for an approximately 10% stake in Aireon, and the NATS will be joining the membership of the board of directors as well. The addition of NATS to the ownership strengthens what is already a very strong partnership between NAV Canada, ENAV, Naviair, the IAA, and Iridium Communications. NATS CEO, Martin Rolfe, is here with us today, and he'll provide you some more details on what this investment means to NATS and the impact it'll have on the air traffic services. But for now, I'd like to talk about what this partnership means to Aireon, to our partners, and to the future of air travel. Today, the Aireon system is fast approaching completion. With 47 active payloads in the constellation, we are receiving over 9 billion aircraft position messages a month, a substantial amount of data. On Tuesday, as Cyril mentioned, we'll have 5 more Iridium Next satellites being put into orbit, all with their Aireon payloads. That will move us much closer to the completion and making global air traffic surveillance a reality. There are 2 more launches scheduled for later this year, 10 satellites each, and after which we'll go put this system through a very rigorous test and certification to prepare for operations. Once operational, the Aireon system will for the first time bring real-time visibility of all ADS-B equipped aircraft anywhere in the world, over the oceans, over remote airspace. This groundbreaking technology will improve the safety, efficiency, predictability, and capacity while reducing the overall surveillance cost for air traffic control organizations. From a safety perspective, 70% of the global airspace has no surveillance. Aireon will immediately provide much-needed visibility to the areas currently without coverage and add redundancy where ground systems are already in place. The safety benefits are also numerous. They include increased situational awareness of all air traffic, improved harmonization of cross-border handoffs between air traffic control organizations, reduction in controller response time to abnormal events in air traffic, and greatly enhance the global search and rescue capabilities of the world. Equally important are the benefits to the aircraft operators. Real-time surveillance of aircraft will enable the safe reduction in separation distances between aircraft and allow for the optimization of flights over broad amounts of airspace. This creates the potential for substantial billions of dollars of fuel savings for the airlines over the course of this system. Over time, these efficiencies that are enabled by Aireon have the potential to benefit the environment through the reduction in carbon emissions. In fact, studies have predicted that space-based ADS-B-enabled services potentially can help reduce carbon emissions by over 14 million metric tons between the years 2020 and 2030. In addition, to comply with the US and European mandates, all commercial aircraft operating in US and European airspace, including the North Atlantic corridor, will be required to be equipped with ADS-B transponders. This means that the airlines won't have to incur any additional investment in costly avionics to take advantage of these services. Preparations are underway to commence operations with space-based ADS-B in early 2019. The cooperation between NATS, NAV Canada, and the Irish Aviation Authority will make the North Atlantic region one of the first showcases of these benefits of the Aireon system. Imagine a world where all aircraft can be seen. Imagine a world where a flight over the North Pole will be as common as a flight from London to Glasgow. Imagine a world where the aircraft or no aircraft will go missing. I mean, that world is coming soon. NATS has long been at the cutting edge of air traffic control technology, and like our other partners, they share a vision of technological innovation in air traffic management. And Aireon, with the help of NATS, will bring this future one step closer. Providing global air traffic control surveillance is a huge responsibility, and our strong partnerships in Europe with NAV, Naviair, the Irish Aviation Authority, and now NATS, has led us to seek certification from the European Aviation Safety Agency, or EASA. Traditionally, EASA only grants safety certifications to air navigation service providers, but due to the importance of space-based ADS-B surveillance to aviation, EASA has recognized the value of supporting a pan-European certification for Aireon. As part of the certification process, EASA performs a series of audits that address all aspects of the Aireon service, including the business, including our system design, the organizational processes and procedures by which we run the company, and the validation of the operational data. Once completed, Aireon will be certified to be a provider of services to all European ANSPs. EASA is viewed as a seal of approval for aviation safety across the world, and this certification will support our efforts in working with other customers beyond the European Union. Looking ahead, after that 6th launch on Tuesday, we'll have 55 payloads in orbit. That puts us more than 2/3 of the way to the system completion. The Aireon payloads are performing well beyond our initial expectations. The initial tests show that the sensitivity of the ADS-B receivers provides significant overlap of the world's airspace. Now, this means that the Aireon system will have triple redundancy in most of the world, giving the air traffic controllers even greater levels of surveillance in their airspace. So in summary, we're on track to be operational by the end of 2018, and NATS, in collaboration with NAV Canada, our other investors and customers, will be one of the first partners to actively use the Aireon system. We welcome NATS to the Aireon family, and we look forward to working closely with the whole NATS team in deploying this transformative air traffic management capability globally. Now, I'd like to turn the podium over to the Chairman of the Board of Aireon and the Chairman of the Board of NAV Canada, Marc Courtois, who will give you more on the NAV Canada perspective on the partnership. Marc?
Thanks, Don. Good morning to members of the press, our customers, and our partners in Aireon. As Cyril and Don has said, I am wearing both my NAV Canada and my Aireon hat today. And speaking for both organizations, I can say that we are delighted that NATS has chosen to invest in Aireon. It's a very exciting time as the company is poised to make history with an innovative and game-changing service offering for the aviation industry. NAV Canada and NATS have a strong partnership that is being forged by our shared responsibility for North Atlantic airspace, our shared vision of technology innovation, and our shared belief in providing value to our customers in the industry. We have worked together for many years, and we have a legacy of leading successful collaborative projects that have improved safety and service. NAV Canada and NATS have a joint development model that has been in place since 2002. It began with a team of technical and operational experts from Canada and the UK. They worked together to adapt an early version of NAV Canada's oceanic air traffic control system at the Gander Centre in Newfoundland to meet the technical and operational requirements of the NATS Control Centre in Prestwick in Scotland. That first successful collaboration led to an enduring partnership that has continued over the years, expanding from the oceanic sector to tower and terminal. It's also encompassed other collaborative North Atlantic initiatives, such as reduced lateral separation minima, providing our customers with efficiency benefits for their flights across the ocean. One of our most recent and significant joint technology projects has resulted in the development of GATS Plus, a shared oceanic ATC system that has increased automation of data exchange and includes a series of safety net tools. GATS Plus has improved coordination between the two centers on the North Atlantic, facilitating improvements to the safety and efficiency of transatlantic air routes. It has also provided another step forward towards a more harmonized operational and technical approach to managing aircraft across the North Atlantic. More importantly, this joint system included the integration of ground-based ADS-B surveillance features, which now serves as the basis for the satellite-based ADS-B services soon to be offered by Aireon. As an aside, NATS and NAV Canada were recipients of the IHS Jane's Air Traffic Management Award in the service provision category for GATS Plus. They were recognized for the contribution to safe and efficient airspace management. As you can see, in addition to sharing a vision for technology innovation, NATS has been and continues to be an essential and valued partner to NAV Canada. And the foundation we have established for collaboration becomes even more important as we prepare for the introduction of space-based ADS-B in North Atlantic oceanic airspace. As I put my Aireon hat back on, simply put, I see that the participation by NATS and Aireon can only further strengthen this joint venture with Iridium Communications, NAV Canada, eNav, the IAA, and Naviair. Aireon is fortunate to have the involvement of these demonstratively innovative and forward-thinking air navigation service providers and Iridium Communications. With Aireon is set to revolutionize global air traffic surveillance, their participation and input adds tangible value to the company and its offering to the global aviation industry. Their perspective as some of the leading innovators in their field offers the assurance that Aireon service will be developed in alignment with the needs of the industry and in a way that generates the most value for aircraft operators as they travel the world. While I can't speak for NATS, it seems to me their investment in Aireon reflects their confidence in the important role that Aireon service will have in changing how air traffic is managed, not just in the busy airspace of the North Atlantic, but around the world. I also look forward to drawing on NATS's extensive experience in other countries and their involvement in a number of international initiatives that support airspace harmonization. This is experience that will help Aireon expand the uses of space-based ADS-B. As Don mentioned, NATS was the first air navigation service provider to sign a non-investor customer service agreement in 2014. They were confident even then that space-based ADS-B would provide significant operational benefits to their airline customers by optimizing flight paths, routes, and tracks, offering fuel savings and increasing safety. They've reinforced their confidence in Aireon service here today by becoming our partner. Today, we have agreements with service providers around the world and other international customers readying to act. Very soon, these customers will be actively using Aireon services. The completion of the Iridium Next constellation is slated for this fall, and for Aireon service to start later in 2018, only a few short months away. Putting my NAV Canada hat back on, as a customer, NAV Canada will begin the first operational use of space-based ADS-B in northern Canadian airspace in early 2019. NAV Canada and NATS will also begin operational trials using space-based ADS-B in Gander and Shanwick flight information regions in 2019, the busiest oceanic airspace in the world. It's an exciting time for Aireon and a truly transformational time for a dynamic and growing aviation industry. I look forward to having NATS as an Aireon partner as we ready ourselves for the impact global air traffic surveillance coverage will have on aviation stakeholders around the world. Now I'd like to turn the podium over to NATS Chief Executive Officer, Martin Rolfe, who will give you the NATS perspective on our partnership. Martin.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Cyril. And thank you all for coming. It's a real pleasure to be with you here in DC this morning. Today, we're delighted to have announced that NATS, the UK's air traffic service provider, has joined the team at Aireon as a shareholder by making a substantial investment in the company. We've done that because we truly believe in Aireon and we believe in its mission to transform how air traffic is managed around the world. I want to pay tribute to Don and Mark's team for the extraordinary and pioneering work that's been done here over the past 7 years. By investing in Aireon, we're strengthening the already existing strong partnerships in North America and across Europe, and building on a shared vision for the future of ATM around the world. It demonstrates our commitment to help shape the service in a way that benefits our customers in the UK and elsewhere, and to NATS playing a leading role in the development of what is the next generation of global air traffic technology and infrastructure. What Aireon is doing in providing global real-time surveillance of air traffic for the first time in history, which includes the planet's oceans and most remote regions from pole to pole, from desert to mountain, is truly transformational. Transformation is a word that's perhaps overused these days, but it is absolutely warranted here. The safety capacity, emissions and fuel benefits that Aireon solution can deliver for our airline customers are truly compelling. And it is my hope that NATS, working side by side with our great friends at NAV Canada, will be the first to put this transformation into practice when the Aireon solution goes live over the North Atlantic. The North Atlantic is the gateway to Europe, or America, depending on which way you're travelling, and the busiest area of oceanic airspace in the world. But it's also at full capacity unless we fundamentally change how we operate it. Last year, NATS controllers, in collaboration with their Irish and NAV Canada counterparts, handled a record 500,000 flights through North Atlantic airspace. That's a staggering 80% of all transatlantic traffic. And by 2030, we estimate that to grow to almost 800,000 flights. Providing that service is a huge responsibility for our controllers and for NATS as a business. The efficiency of the operation has a direct impact on our customers, but also on the wider air traffic network in the UK and right across Europe. What Aireon can offer is a technical solution that both solves our capacity and safety challenges, while amazingly also delivering fuel and CO2 savings. Simply being able to offer the airlines the routes they want at the speed that suits them will generate net savings of up to $300 in fuel and 2 tons of CO2 per flight by our estimates. When you scale up the numbers that we manage, that equates to huge fuel savings in the range of at least 1 million tons of CO2 every year, all thanks to what Aireon has been building here. But perhaps just as compelling are the combined safety and capacity benefits. Today we monitor aircraft above the ocean using position reports every few minutes as they fly along predetermined fixed routes at preset speeds. Moving to real-time satellite surveillance will alert our air traffic controllers in seconds rather than minutes when a pilot needs help, or if an aircraft changes level or route without having been given clearance. The capacity benefits of moving from an environment where aircraft have to be kept 40 miles apart to just 15 miles are plain for everyone to see. All of these elements will allow NATS to meet ICAO's safety targets, whilst also meeting the future traffic growth and delivering service improvements that just aren't possible using today's technology. We're talking about a genuine game changer that at a stroke will make flying safer, cheaper, greener and more predictable. I believe it's a compelling case for change. All of our oceanic partners, NAV Canada, the IAA and Naviair, all see this as being critical to the future of the North Atlantic, and we are currently consulting with our airline customers about bringing it into service. Looking beyond the North Atlantic, I know Don has been talking to air traffic service providers right around the world, all of which are excited by the prospect of what this technology can deliver. And the news that Aireon are working with EASA towards pan-European certification is very positive. When we consider how Aireon does away with the 2 historic challenges of providing aircraft surveillance across the world's most remote places and the ongoing cost of expensive ground-based radar infrastructure maintenance, there is no doubt in my mind that we are seeing the dawn of a new era for air traffic management. And beyond those immediate benefits, the prospect of having access to a truly global picture of air traffic flows for the first time is very exciting. NATS leads the world in air traffic understanding and deriving insights from operational data. You just need to look at some of the work that we've done with London's Heathrow Airport to help improve their efficiency and resilience. And I'm certain there is value we can deliver to our customers that we can't even imagine today from this technology. As I close, I want to pay tribute once again to the Aireon team. The industry is about to embark on the most transformational change in air traffic management since the introduction of radar over 70 years ago, and NATS is absolutely delighted to be here with them. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Martin, Mark, Don, and I'd like to open the floor for any questions there might be from the press in the room. If you could state name and who you're with and who the question is for. I think, Ben.
Ben Vogel, James Airport Review. Question for all the panelists. I suppose, why is the deal being conducted now? If it was such a good idea and NATS is so convinced by the potential of the Aireon service. Sorry. If NATS was so convinced by the potential of the Aireon service, why did you not make the bid before?
Should I take that one to start with? I think that's probably best aimed at me. Thanks, Ben. So I think, like any of these things, deals come about when it's the right time to do a deal. And I think for us, the timing was right. The makeup of NATS changes over the years, and obviously what we see as future priorities in terms of our overseas operations, our domestic operations. And I think I would basically say it is one of those things where the timing is right, the risk profile is right, everything has come together in a way that makes us feel confident that us investing is not just good for NATS, but it's good for Aireon and it's good for the other partners. So I think it's a combination of all of those factors that just made the timing right. We've always known it's a good idea, and in fact we've always been very clear that we intend to use the Aireon service over the North Atlantic. The difference here is at what time was it right for us to become an investor in that as well and shape the future of it.
Follow-up question. Are you allowed to say which previous investor or shareholder in Aireon has diluted its stake?
We were all diluted. It was treasury shares that NATS has purchased, so we were all diluted by the percentage that NATS received.
But enhanced at the same time, I like to say.
Very much.
Well said.
Any other questions from the floor?
Hi, Caleb Henry with Space News. 3 questions for Don. The first, how many of the Aireon payload, how many of the Iridium satellites will have active Aireon payloads? I know the number is shifted from 66 to 69 Iridium satellites that'll be in orbit. Curious what that means, if there's any changes for your constellation. Second, there are the hosting fees and data fees. Will you now be able to pay those to Iridium after this investment? And then third, do you have any update on when the FAA might become a customer?
Sure. Thanks, Caleb. You'll have to help me so I remember all three questions. First question, every single Iridium NEXT satellite will have an Aireon payload. And that was under the agreement that we struck with Iridium that would always ensure that if an Iridium satellite goes up, an Aireon payload's on board. So you may remember there are 81 satellites being built for Iridium by Thales Alenia Space and Orbital ATK. We'll launch 66 operational satellites plus 9 spares that will be in orbit. And again, all of those will have Aireon payloads. There'll be an additional 6 ground spares that will be kept, at least for the short term, on the ground and be launched at a later time to provide additional spares in orbit. So this is all part of the strategy to ensure that Iridium remains a very robust satellite network and that the Aireon system can provide a very high availability of service for air traffic control customers. Okay, second question. Well, hosting fees, right. That's right. Hosting fees, no. So with this investment, we'll begin to make hosting fees to Iridium. but we'll still, over time, continue to make those hosting fees over the course of the next several years as the business becomes available and capable of making those payments. So this is an important part because it starts that process. And the third question, my memory's gone today. FAA, of course. So the FAA, as you may know, I mentioned in the discussion that NATS was one of the first ANSPs that we spoke to. There were four that we began discussions with: NAV Canada, the FAA, as well as Air Services Australia, very early on, because these were the leaders in ADS-B technology. Back in 2011, we also entered into a memorandum of agreement or understanding with the FAA, and they've been part of the development process of the Aireon system for the past 7 years. So their technical teams have been in the same meetings as our people, the NAV Canada people, in the review and evaluation and requirements of the system. We're now under contract to Harris Corporation to provide some updates to the Aireon system to meet some unique requirements of the FAA. And the FAA is currently going through their procurement process, decision process right now, which obviously I can't speak too much about because it's their process, and we're only participating as supporting that process. But we're very hopeful that under our agreement with Harris, they'll be connecting to our network later this year. They'll begin running real live data testing with their systems with their Atlantic City Tech Center. They're currently in the process of upgrading their automation system for the oceans, ATOP, and we'll continue working with them to be ready to use the service and pending the outcome of their decisions later this year, early next year.
Gotcha. And then just one clarification, since I kind of garbled my first question. For the spares, does Aireon have an identical setup to Iridium? Is it 66 active and 9 in-orbit spares, or will all 75 be active for you?
Yeah, so we'll only have payloads active on the operational satellites, so 66 at a time. So as I said, so every satellite has an Aireon payload, and as Iridium moves a satellite into its proper mission slot, we turn on our payload and operate it as part of the network then. So it has to be in the mission orbit. So 66 will be our operating approach. And as I mentioned, the performance of the Aireon system is built for a very high degree of availability. So each of our payloads are completely redundant. You can lose half the payload and you can still perform the mission. And in addition, the performance, as I mentioned, is really providing a substantial amount of overlap, much more than we had anticipated, which provides a almost triple redundancy on most of the world. So it's a very robust system, as it needs to be to support the life-critical, safety-critical operations of air traffic control. Okay, thanks, Caleb.
Any other questions from the audience at the moment? I know we'll be going through the one-on-one interviews soon, so if there's no other questions, we'll close off the webcast and invite the participants here to take part in the one-on-one interviews with the members of the team. And thank you all for tuning in, and thanks to all the NATS colleagues for joining the Aireon team, and thank you for being here today.